Hello and welcome to Revision of Waves. This is not the entire waves topic because if I talked through an entire topic in one short video, I think my mouth would fall off. That is an official scientific diagnosis, by the way, but it is as much as I can squeeze in, so it covers the majority of it. I will be talking fairly fast, so feel free to pause this video, rewind at certain points, etc. There is also a fill in the gaps sheet to go alongside this video, so if you are watching you can do the fill in the gaps as revision as well. So yes, waves, here we go. So a wave, the official definition, transfers energy from one place to another without transferring mass. So particles may oscillate, vibrate, go backwards and forwards, but overall they do not go the length of the wave. They are not carried by the wave. So transfer of energy, no transfer of mass. Now there are two main types of wave that you need to know about. The first one is a transverse wave. I want you to picture everyone stood in a line doing a Mexican wave. This is an example of a transverse wave. In transverse waves, the vibrations are at right angles to the direction of energy transfer. So here you have a diagram of a transverse wave. You can see on the left-hand side, it is showing that the particles are going up and down, up and down. However, the energy overall is going from left to right. So again, picture that Mexican wave. Your particles are going, or your arms rather, are going up and down. However, the energy gets passed along all of you. They're at right angles. Examples of transverse waves are written water ripples and light. Actually, every electromagnetic wave in the EM spectrum is transverse, so you could use any of them as an example. Right, our second type of wave is a longitudinal wave. The vibrations are parallel to the direction of energy transfer. And in this, I would like you to picture everyone stood with their arms on each other's shoulders in a line, all facing forward. So you're all facing each other's backs, if that makes sense. If I came along to the back of the line and I shoved the person at the back, they would topple forward into the person in front of them, into the person in front of them, and so on and so forth. Here, the particles, you being the particles, would be moving parallel to the direction of energy transfer. So the energy would be going along the line, but you would also be moving along the line. You can draw a longitudinal wave as a slinky or just as a series of lines. Just make sure you get those arrows on there showing the vibrations going backwards and forwards and that direction of energy transfer again. An example of a longitudinal wave is sound. You could also have ultrasound, given the same thing. Now there are two main features on a longitudinal wave that you need to know about, and they are compressions and rarefactions. Compressions are where they are areas of high pressure, the particles are squashed together, and rarefactions are where they are spaced out, or areas of low pressure. So, key features of transverse waves. You have the top of a wave is a peak or a crest, the bottom of a wave is a trough, and I always tell my year 10s to think of it as a little piggy trough, etc. The distance from that middle line, can you see that dotted middle line, to the top or the bottom of the wave, it's called the amplitude. That middle line, just FYI, could be called the equilibrium position, because this is where the particles would naturally sit if there wasn't a wave going through. You also have a wavelength. Now, a wavelength is no real surprise, a length of one complete wave. Now, this could go from peak to peak, trough to trough, or centre of a wave to centre of a wave. Please be careful with the centre ones, because if you only have, for example, look at that wavelength from the left-hand side. If you only went down and then up, that would only be half a wave, that wouldn't be a whole wave. So that wavelength needs to take in the entire wave. So down, up, down, if you can see what I mean. Right, definitions. Time period. The time taken for one complete wave to pass a point, measured in seconds. These definitions, not normally asked about in exams, however, in a question, they might tell you that a wave takes 10 seconds to pass a point and expect you to use that in an equation as the time period. So if you don't know the definition of time period, you won't use it correctly. You see what I mean? So you should know what a time period is. It is measured in seconds. Frequency. The number of vibrations in 1 second or the number of waves that pass a point in 1 second. It is measured in hertz. 50 hertz equals 50 vibrations or waves in 1 second. And again, know this definition and look out for it in questions. They might not be obvious and say the frequency is 50 hertz. They might say 50 waves that pass a point in a second, or even 100 waves pass a point in 2 seconds. Look how sneaky they're being. They're not telling you the frequency, they're getting you to recognise that you could work out the frequency from it. Okay, so equation. Frequency is 1 over time period, or time period is 1 over frequency. We say they are the inverse of each other. If you wanted a triangle, it would be the number 1 at the top and frequency and time period on the bottom. Next equation in the waves topic is called the wave equation. It's not a very original name. V is F times lambda. V is the wave speed. The V comes from velocity, measured in meters per second. F is frequency, and lambda is a Greek letter which we use to represent wavelength. It's a bit like an upside down Y. So yeah, make sure you can use that. Echoes. I've put this in because actually it features a couple of times in this topic. An echo is a reflection of sound. Echoes can be used by ships, submarines, in sonar, and also I've put for baby scans. I feel like we should probably be more technical actually. Let's say prenatal scanning. Prenatal scanning. And the idea is that they emit an echo, it travels, it bounces off an object or a boundary, comes back. You can work out distances and speeds using speed equals distance divided by time. So actually, perhaps that is one of the third equations you should know for this topic. Speed, distance, time. I know it's a basic one, but people forget about it. So measuring the speed of sound, e.g. using echoes. If we make a short, sharp noise, e.g. clap 2 pieces of wood together, near a flat surface, e.g. a wall, we can make an echo. So do you remember we went out to the playground to do this? If we measure the distance to the wall and back, and measure the time between the original sound and the echo, we can calculate the speed of sound. Speed is distance divided by time, and it should work out as 340 meters per second, which is a number you are expected to know. Speed of sound in air, 340. Ooh, ultrasound. There is a D there somewhere, but clearly it's been cut off. Ultrasound. Where's the D gone? Ah, there you go. No, okay, right, getting the D down there, apologies. So, vibrations at a higher frequency than the human ear can detect. Now, humans can detect up to 20,000 hertz, so ultrasound is anything above that. I've put a bat there because bats use ultrasound to detect their prey. So, uses of ultrasound. Scanning unborn babies, as established, prenatal scanning, finding and treating kidney stones, and sonar and echolocation. Right, and we're getting towards the end here. Parts of the ear. You are expected to know the parts of the ear and how sound travels through them. So, yeah, I know it's quite biology based, but you just got to memorize it, I'm afraid. You could do it the first time in year 10, you can do it now. So, first thing you come to in the ear, and it's what people classically call your ears, is actually called the pinna, and it makes up part of the outer ear. You then have your auditory canal, also occasionally called ear canal, and the first bit of solid that a sound wave will reach is your eardrum, which is a very thin piece of membrane. Right, yes, then from the eardrum. So the eardrum is forced to vibrate by these longitudinal sound waves. The eardrum is attached to 3 small bones. They are the smallest bones in the human body, and they are called ossicles when they're all together. They are made up of 3 individual ones called the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. Now, the idea of those 3 is that they magnify the vibrations. So sound waves are not very big. They're a hell of a lot bigger than light, but they're still not very big. So it's quite hard to pick them up. So your ossicles amplify them, make those vibrations a little bit bigger. At the end of the stirrup, which is your final small bone, that is attached to something called the oval window, which is again another membrane. So the bones are all vibrating. It then passes the vibration through that oval window and into your cochlea. Now the cochlea has 2 different parts, so I'm going to focus on the bottom part first of all. Within the cochlea, there is a lot of liquid, and it is filled with liquid. Lining the walls of the cochlea are hair cells, effectively. And so the vibrations go through the liquid and then vibrate the little hair cells. Now, each of those hair cells is attached to the auditory nerve, and each hair cell is a different length. Long hairs pick up low sounds, and short hairs pick up high sounds. As they are vibrated, they attach to the auditory nerve. The auditory nerve takes that vibration as an electrical signal to your brain, and that's how you hear. When you get older, you lose those shorter hairs, which means you can't hear the high frequency sounds that you would have. Right, the second part of the cochlea is that top bit, which is the semicircular canals. Now, these aren't really to do with hearing, these are more about balance. So there are 3 canals, each one represents a dimension, and they basically tell you if you're the right way up or, if you're wonky, etc. When you get an ear infection, that's why your balance quite often goes, because you are in control, because it's your semicircular canals that are being affected. If you want to pause the video and have a read through the flowchart, this just goes through what I was chatting about with how sound travels through your ear. So that's everything. There are lots of stuff on Google Classroom for you to have a look at. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you later.